Today in the episode, Counter Meta, taking hover pilots down a peg. Voice of the Wasteland, where we read the graffiti you left on the walls of our radio tower and choose the craft of the episode. But first, let's start with the workshop, the many flaming wheels of fortune. What if you have too many wheels laying around? A thrifty survivor would put them on a shelf somewhere until he's ready to commit to building the most precious of multi-wheeled cars. Firestarters, who are anything but thrifty, introduced a more exciting way of using your wheels in Update 0.9.0. Why not just throw them at your enemies? That's what the Fortune Mine Layer is all about. Ah, I see your eyes are already burning with unholy desires. Fond of insane explosions, aren't you? But wait, before you go any further, there are a few things that you should know about. First, what the Fortune is launching are not rounds. It spits out wheels filled to the brim with unstable explosives. And trust us when we say that they don't travel in the most predictable fashion, and also bump into random things all the time. Second, unlike other guns, the Fortune can only be rotated horizontally while building, which makes it somewhat trickier to fit in your build. The so-called mine layer is also not very sturdy, a recurring theme here, we guess, with only 288 points of durability at PS 2000. Now to the good parts. Every time you fire, the Fortune launches 3 wheels at once, making it easier to hit an enemy, and also dealing lots of damage if you manage to hit with all 3. Furthermore, even though wheels are no bullets, they travel pretty damn fast. Moreover, with a bit of practice, you'd be able to lob your explosive wheels over cover and use them to deny passage through certain avenues of approach, for 8 seconds that is. After that, your little wheels go boom, no matter what. Like what you hear? Okay. Then our next step is to create an effective build around it. It's pretty straightforward, actually. When it comes to special modules, the Fortune operates more or less like a regular cannon. Ammo crates, an engine for the reload, a harpy for more damage, and a radar detector just in case. That's basically it. Keep in mind, though, that the Fortune is a very fragile piece of equipment, so you have to cover it with something. Luckily for us, it's more of an indirect fire weapon, meaning that we can work with both flat trajectories and also simply spitting our wheels into the ground. Our wheels will find their target either way. With the Fortune, there are basically 2 ways that you can approach combat. The first is as old as the earliest iteration of Clan Wars. Get a car that can take a lot of punishment, get as close as possible to your enemy, and then bombard them with wheels until they go kaboom. The second approach involves launching your wheels tactically at specific avenues of approach, or right in the middle of enemy ranks. Remember, the Fortune is an indirect fire weapon, and the wheels can bounce off of walls, meaning that you can even hit enemies that are hiding behind the corner. We suggest that you adopt both of these tactics. Use whatever makes sense at any given moment. Build yourself a sturdy, maneuverable car, and get wrecking. In any fight, your biggest strength is that you deal a lot of damage at close to mid-range. Before you close on your target, give yourself a bit of security by launching a few wheels towards the places enemies might pop out of. This way, you might reveal someone with an active cloaking device, or blow some wheels off of people that don't want to mind their own business. It's also very important not to get sidetracked. Prioritize taking out the most dangerous of opponents, especially if they're engaging someone else at the moment, and see the whole world go up in flames. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most common peculiar designs created in the Wastes, the sideways hovers. The thing that makes them special is immediately apparent, and it's in the name for Otagon's sake. Compared to normal, typical hovers that behave more or less like any other vehicles, sideways hovers do fly sideways. Why, you ask? It's pretty simple. There are 2 distinct advantages to this kind of design. First and foremost, sideways hovers are small. They have a very narrow frontal profile, making them a harder target to hit. At the same time, these builds are pretty good at evading shots, thanks to their high mobility and really good strafing speed. The second big selling point of this type of craft is that it allows you to protect your hovers really efficiently from any attacks from the front, usually with at least your engine or a cabin. All of that allows survivors to outfit their sideways hovers with weapons that would never be as effective on any normal build. Take scorpions, for example. You peek out of cover, land your shots, and then immediately get back to safety. Works like a charm if you're on a sideways hover. If you're running a meat grinder build, not so much. Naturally, and luckily for us, this design has its flaws, the most obvious being that sideways hovers often lack any good protection on their sides. A lot of them, especially at low to mid power scores, are forced to shed non-vital parts to get better guns and to keep the build as light as possible. That means that in many situations, all it takes to send a pilot back to the earthly realm is a single good cannon shot right in their sides. Another big problem most sideways crafts have to deal with is that their modules are usually very tightly packed. It's quite a challenge to build a sideways hover in a way so that it retains its narrow profile and also doesn't lose most of its key parts after a single hit. It's worth noting, though, that at high PS, hovers mostly stop caring about being small and turn into flying fortresses, and after Nova was introduced, a lot of crafts using it promptly returned to normal types of hover designs. The last, and maybe the most important thing to a fledgling pilot, is that building it is only half the job. Survivors that favor those builds also have to adjust their controls in a specific fashion. Okay, that's it for the theory. What can we do to bring them down? When engaging sideways hovers, your best bets are weapons that shoot rounds that travel at fast speeds, like machine guns or cannons. Map awareness also helps a lot, as well as a good reaction speed. Furthermore, with a bit of experience, you can almost immediately destroy sideways hovers with melee weapons. Flamethrowers, saws, spears, anything goes, you just have to get to them first. One last thing, never leave a sideways hover for later. If you engage it, fight it till it's gone. Compared to vehicles equipped with other means of movement, hovercraft remain pretty mobile even with a single working hover, and can sometimes get their team a win just by successfully evading you and your teammates till the very end. And that's something that should never happen. And now for a short commercial break.
Did you master the clarinet already? Switch to the flute, the winner of this year's Wasteland Music Awards. The Flute AGM with proper sounds and the right number of little holes in our shop only.
The first message for today comes from Simeon Maslak. Can we please have some more historical parts? Like more tank turrets or armored vehicle cabs? Maybe borrow some WT assets, please? Hi, Simeon. We actually try to add new parts that have a real-life counterpart as frequently as possible. And, by the way, if you like the 1970s designs, well, you might really enjoy our next update. Imperial Dragon 2 writes, I know it's hard to code new things into older systems, but can we get more maps with environmental hazards in? Put them in with the lore of a toxic faction like the Ravagers map, or make certain tweaks to old maps? Been playing for 4 years now, and I love new locations, especially Naukograd. Thanks for your kind words, Imperial Dragon. The short answer is yes, we love environmental hazards too, and we are going to work on more maps that have them in the future. A survivor that is known as JJ3792 asks, are we going to have an expansion for the story campaign's map to travel and explore even further? Are we going to get more missions for the story campaign? Hi! We don't plan to expand the adventure mode anytime soon. That doesn't mean that we don't work on the story. We try to add new interesting lore and tell you the epic tale of the ever-changing wastes with every update by introducing new characters, new parts, and new stories about them. Gecko007 says, we have fire starters in PvE. When will there be Steppenwolves or Children of the Dawn? Soon, my friend. Keep your eyes peeled for one of the upcoming updates. Then there's a message by Armando Dillon. I have no suggestions or requests. Just wanted to comment that you guys make amazing quality videos. It definitely makes us as players feel a bit warmer when a team like yours takes time to connect with its users. You all are amazing! We're getting to eat today! But seriously, a huge thanks to you. You specifically and all the people who play the game on the whole. This show, as well as this game, doesn't really mean anything without its community after all. Speaking about the community, now it's time for, arguably, the best part of our show. At the end of every episode, we choose one craft from the exhibition and show it to the whole world so that you can also say something along the lines of, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." This is the craft of the episode, Balance War, a normal type hover built by Master Arachnologist. Do you already see why it's kind of special? Yep, it's a hovercraft with a single hover. Obviously, don't expect this vehicle to be super duper fast, but also don't underestimate this little fella. It has flutes, and it strikes pretty damn hard. We really appreciate it when our players think outside the box, and sometimes also light it on fire. So this build is right up our alley. Thank you, Mr. Arachnologist. That's it for today. Tell us what you think in the comments below, ask us questions, and if we can put down our experimental hover build just for one damn minute, we'll answer some of them in the next episode. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and good luck!